Benvenuti cari amici Samu Bit di questo nuovo video. Oggi andiamo a parlare di Ethereum perché, come ben sapete, al 15 di settembre ci sarà il merge, per cui andremo a vedere naturalmente quella che è l'opinione di Eric Crown, grandissimo analista americano, e per cui andiamo subito a vedere, a commentare insieme questo video che secondo me è interessantissimo.
On Ethereum in general as an investment. Do you invest? Do you own Ethereum?
Yeah, I do own Ethereum. I do think it is one of the few cryptos here to stay. So I came into this market back in 2016, 2017. And at that point, it was still quite new. And so we were still, unsure, is this legit? Is this not? Because most things at that time were a scam. And it seems quite clear to me that Ethereum is here to stay. The infrastructure built around it, the investments in it, the people involved within it, and all of the projects surrounding it, tells me that it is legitimate and it is likely going to have a very good history. It's probably, at least in my opinion, the second safest investment in the cryptocurrency landscape. Perhaps I'll eat those words at some point. Relative to Bitcoin, I still think Bitcoin is number one, given the history. But, when you think about it down the road, let's say in 30, 50 years from now, people are not going to care that Ethereum, was born 5 years after Bitcoin. It'll have about the same history. And it'll be, at least in my opinion, one of the most important platforms.
And if
Naturalmente prima di andare a parlare di Ethereum nel breve termine, quindi le varie charts, viene chiesto a Crown che cosa ne pensa di Ethereum e lui pensa che nel lungo termine Ethereum sarà destinato a continuare la sua vita.
at any time you break up during this, you're doing great so far, but I'm going to reiterate the question. We're talking from different parts of the world. But give me your thoughts now. Give me your price targets for Ethereum. Obviously, we're in a bear market, and usually in bear markets, you want to bet on Bitcoin dominance going up. In bull markets, you want to bet on altcoins gaining dominance. But Ethereum seems to be holding its own pretty well. What are your thoughts?
Ora Austin Hilton chiede quali sono i tuoi target prossimi su Ethereum. Naturalmente siamo in un bear market, quindi di conseguenza la dominance di Bitcoin andrà a aumentare, ma ora andiamo a svelare questi target.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll put on a chart really quickly right here. And when it comes to Ethereum, the whole narrative right now is that you have the merge going on in September, right? So with these sort of narratives, what typically happens is you get a run up into the event, and very sophisticated investors, or more predatory investors, will use that sort of a narrative to essentially fire up the more retail inspired investors, get them excited, print price action up, make everyone think that this is going to just be green all the way to the skies and beyond, and then dump it a little bit before the actual event occurs. Psychologically speaking, it actually does make sense, simply because when we're talking in terms of psychology, you can, when you have an event, the lead up to the event is the event, basically. Once the event happens, the expectations that everyone was looking for already met. I mean, the merge happened, everything went over well, blah, 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 great. So what do we have to look forward to now? What could possibly, unless if something even more amazing happens, which is unlikely, there's really no fundamental reason for things to take off from there immediately. Further down the road, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of similar to a Bitcoin halving. The immediate effect is not necessarily known. In fact, the last one, it dumped quite hard afterwards. And but later down the road, those sort of fundamentals do start to get priced in. So as far as Ethereum goes right here, I do think that Ethereum, probably does start to dump into the event sometime early September. It is obviously the more strong, or it's actually the most strong as far as the big names go in cryptocurrency landscape right now. And there are more indications actually of a potential macro low in the making already for Ethereum relative to Bitcoin, which I thought was rather interesting. There's really only a couple things here to be going over for Ethereum specifically, but the big B, I'm sharing the wrong screen, but that's actually okay. So I'll just go over here.
Quindi prima di andare a vedere quello che avverrà su Ethereum, quello che ci dice Crown è la seguente cosa, cioè come sappiamo, l'abbiamo già detto, 15 di settembre ci sarà il merge. Naturalmente la spinta che c'è stata su Ethereum addirittura ha fatto più 100% nel giro di un mese e mezzo, e quello che ci dice attenzione perché andremo a scontare la notizia e probabilmente ci sarà un bel scarico. Ma ora andiamo a vederlo con gli indicatori.
Go over here. And the big things for me are this. First and foremost, on the monthly time frame, a rather powerful time frame, it is starting to put in what's called hidden bullish divergence. So this is on the R side, and what that essentially means is that bears are using more force, more momentum to push price action down, but they're not making a lower low. So in this case, we're comparing the lows from over here in actually March 2020 versus the potential lows over here, which are, as of right now, unconfirmed. As that target goes, I do Ethereum will probably revisit somewhere around 1300. Somewhere around there would be fine. If it is going to bottom there, that's where I'd probably be looking for it. Unfortunately, if things do get dragged down in the current global climate, then I'd probably be looking at, which we discussed on the Bitcoin video, by the way.
Link down below.
Then I'd probably be looking for things to come down. Yes, link down below. There we go. Then I'd probably be looking for things to come down significantly more alongside everything else in the world, really. The other thing that I have for Ethereum.
Quindi il target che ci dà su Ethereum sono i $1.300. Vi ricordo in questo momento il prezzo di Ethereum di 1.600, quindi sarebbe un dump di circa il meno 25%, più che fattibile, ok, su Ethereum, visto anche che l'altcoin index in questo momento è estremamente alto.
Is over here, and this is going to be the monthly stochastic momentum oscillator, of which, again, it's coming down.
Quindi prima aveva preso l'RSI sul mensile, che naturalmente sul mensile è scarico, però se andate a vedere effettivamente anche sul giornaliero siamo abbastanza carichi, quindi probabilmente torneremo in ipervenduta a 30. Ora va a prendere il stock RSI, attenzione.
It is starting to reset quite a fair bit, but we're not there just yet. So I do think earliest, best case scenario, still in my opinion, is sometime around late September, early October, you start to see lows being put in. And then who knows how long it takes after that to dig out of the lows and start to get a nice move to the upside. But for right now, Ethereum's probably the one that is closest, in my opinion, to bottoming. And 1300 would kind of be my area on this next pullback, if that is going to be the case coming into September. And that's really going to be a function, as we also discussed in the past video, of the Fed, it potentially pivoting. If they do, that would be a great area. If not, then we're probably in for some more pain over the next 6 months to a year.
Allora, quello che ci dice Crown è essenziale perché lui dice $1.300 a partire dai primi di settembre, per cui attenzione. Naturalmente se ciò non dovesse avvenire, secondo lui avremo maggior dolore nei prossimi 6 mesi / un anno su Ethereum.
So answering the question, buy Ethereum now or wait. Obviously you're saying it's too late. You should have bought Ethereum 2 months ago, in this run up to the merge. But in terms of wait for when, 1300 at the highest, possibly more, depending on what the Fed does in September.
Yeah, I'd say anywhere around 1300 it kind of makes sense to me as far as that goes.
Cool. What's your take on, you kind of already addressed this, but ETH dominance has never done this before, held its own in a bear market. Is that going to go away, to your best guess, after the merge?
Is that going to go away? Well, looking at the Ethereum dominance chart right here, I think Ethereum dominance is only going to continue.
Ora andiamo a parlare di un'altra cosa essenziale, cioè l'Ethereum dominance, cioè la forza di Ethereum nei confronti delle altre altcoin e di Bitcoin. In questo momento siamo a 20,85 e gli viene chiesto: secondo te Ethereum perderà forza nei confronti delle altre cripto?
From here, actually, this is an incredibly bullish chart. Yes,
I'm talking about after the merge in September, going up till September and then drop.
It probably goes up until the actual merge, maybe like a week before, something like that. I'd be looking for pullbacks once you start to get into this region here, especially the 24 to 26% range. After that, you know, do I look for it to continue on from there? Probably yes. I mean, this is actually a rather bullish chart long term. It's just going to take a long time to actually occur. I mean, we're looking at a monthly right here, so realistically, this would happen, you know, maybe by end of year if it's going to happen at all. But yes, this is actually a chart that I'd be quite bullish on. So I do think that Ethereum will continue to maintain its hold, and this is clearly showing that the market is favoring it in the long term.
Is this ETH down?
Da quello che ci dice, probabilmente in previsione anche del merge, la dominance di Ethereum andrà a calare sensibilmente, ok? Però a lungo termine, secondo il buon Crown, Ethereum veramente resterà insieme a Bitcoin l'unica, ok, l'altcoin sulla quale ci metterebbe la mano sul fuoco.
Dominance against everything else, or ETH against Bitcoin?
This is Ethereum dominance against everything else. Yes.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Hey, let's take it back on us. Just final thoughts. I know you're a trader, obviously, so you do the swing trades. You do have some long-term holds. Besides Bitcoin, besides Ethereum, any other altcoins that just interest you in general?
You know, I'm the wrong person to ask that, man. You know, I I just came around to accepting Ethereum as like, oh, it's probably not a scam. It's probably fine. So I'm not saying that everything in this market is a scam, obviously. It would be very naive to say that in a market of thousands of coins, obviously there's going to be, you know, a handful of major, massive winners. Most things, however, I think are just there for speculation. So do I hold anything else besides Bitcoin and Ethereum? No, I do not.
Per cui viene chiesto, oltre a Bitcoin e Ethereum, come diciamo investimenti a lungo termine, hai altre altcoin? Lui risponde assolutamente no.
Been in the trading game, and by the way, that's a very sobering analysis. I think more people should take the safer sort of a perspective on the market and then let the altcoins prove it to you, because there's so much hype. But you're a multi-decade trading veteran in the space. You've been in here for a while. If you could give your younger self a message when you were first starting out, what advice would you give your younger self as you dove into trading?
Ora, per concludere, secondo me è bellissima domanda che è stata posta. Che consiglio daresti a chi ha appena iniziato a fare trading ed è giovane? O a te stesso, ok, quando hai iniziato ed eri giovane?
Okay, so if I could give just one piece of knowledge to anyone out there who's trying to learn trading, what is the most important thing to be doing is quite simply this: back test your strategy. I cannot for the life of me understand these sort of analyses and trading setups that I see all across the internet, where it's just like, draw a line on chart and it's going to do this because it broke this line. I have not been able to see that work for myself. I do make it, but as far as my own self, I would have wanted myself to have employed a system-based strategy to begin with. So at the end of the day, if you are looking to do something like that, you need to start with three things: entry, exit, risk management. If you can figure out some sort of signal to noise ratio between all of those things, you will eventually develop a strategy which you can then back test, figure out these statistics that accompany it, and then perhaps employ it if it is acceptable to you.
Eric, love it. I want to have you back in September to go over all these charts. Your links are down below.
Quindi lui risponde che la cosa più importante è la seguente, cioè saper gestire l'entrata, l'uscita e naturalmente la gestione del capitale. E inizialmente, ok, affidarsi, come ha fatto lui nei suoi primi anni, ad un altro esperto di trading. Naturalmente bisogna anche testare, ok, la propria strategia, e quindi alle volte io aggiungerei andare fino in fondo. Se si ha un'idea, andare fino in fondo, perché se voi sbagliate con la testa di altri, penso che sia molto peggio rispetto a sbagliare con la propria. E per cui, se ti è piaciuto questo video, ti ricordo di iscriverti al bottone like, di iscriverti al canale e ci vediamo presto.